And before I introduce our guest moderator for the day, I would first like to share some very basic housekeeping items with you. If you are following us on a regular basis, I'm sure you're very familiar with those two basic rules. But really important, yes, of course, you will get the full presentation and the recording will be shared with you after the event. So no need to be scared. If you don't, if you miss some part of the explanation, you will get plenty of time to listen to the presentations again. And then the second item, which is also important to make sure that everybody gets the right features of this event today. At the bottom of your screen on the Zoom features, you can see the chat function and the Q&A function. The chat is really for you to connect with all the listeners joining us today, to say hi, to exchange some contact details, to comment maybe on what you're hearing from our panelists today. And if you have some specific questions you would like to ask to our panelists today, please use the Q&A function. That will make it a lot easier for Roger to moderate and make sure to catch all your questions and to make sure they get answered today. So this is it for housekeeping items. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our moderator today, Roger Hackstock, who is the Managing Director of Austria Solar, a sister solar association from Austria. And we're really pleased to have him accept the invitation today because he brings a wealth of experience in energy transition, but also in solar in general, with 30 years experience in energy transition, 17 years heading the Austria Solar Associations. If I'm not mistaken, Roger, that was in two different sections. You were heading the association in two different time frames. You're also a member of the think tank Energy Academy, a lecturer at the Vienna University of Technology, and on top of this, you've also authored 2 books on energy transition. And so we could not think of anybody better to moderate the discussion today. We're really pleased to have you. And I'm happy to hand over to you now to manage the discussion with our guest panelists and to tell us everything about the benefits of solar thermal technology for Africa application.
Thank you, John, for this kind introduction. I'm very honored to having been invited to moderate this webinar on solar thermal technology for industrial and residential use in Africa by AFSIA. AFSIA, I learned last year that it's the African Solar Industry Association. I was very pleased that there is this association there already located in Kigali, Rwanda, founded 5 years ago, and already has over 50 members. And this webinar should give us an impression to the issue of industrial and residential use of solar thermal in Africa by some experts that were invited. I'm very pleased to present our experts. This is Pauline Dusabimaria from Munyax, Michelle Cross from Soar, and Troy Berry from Ariya Finergy. There will be a presentation, a short presentation afterwards by John. There are some slides on the different panelists. I'd like to continue with these short introductions by John. Can I hand it over to you, the presentation, or should I do it?
No, go ahead, Roger.
Okay, thank you.
This is your session.
Okay. So Pauline Dusabimaria, the coordinator of Munyax in Rwanda, has already 10 years of experience in solar energy. We are very pleased She has experience with both solar technologies. That's very interesting for thermal and photovoltaic systems, and especially with electrical power networks. She has experiences and is currently in this master's in renewable energy at the Heriot-Watt University enrolled. So we are looking forward to the contribution of her as a panelist. The next panelist, Michelle Cross. She's the head of international business development of Planet Soar in France, located in France, is also co-founder of Planet Soar, and has experience in international business, digital marketing, and sales. And she worked also with experts in iRevolution, digital acceleration, and holds an MBA and is also experienced with luxury brand management from this honors education and degree. Has a degree in business strategy from sustainable business strategy from Harvard University, so a high-level degree. So we're looking forward for her contributions today. The next speaker will be Troy Berry. He's the CTO of Ariya Finergy, located in Kenya, and he also has more than 10 years experience in energy, worked in multiple projects in Kenya on solar energy, grid stabilization, and developed and built the first solar thermal collector plant for solar process heat in Kenya, which is very interesting for also our issue or our webinar today. He's even involved in Masia Mobility, that's beyond solar thermal technology, e-mobility company in Kenya. And he has a Bachelor of Applied Sciences in Engineering Physics from the University of British Columbia. So also be welcome to our webinar today. And the last panelist, Jeff Kimanti, the Technical Office Manager from Iberia, Africa, located in Kenya. We are sorry that by some personal reasons he is not able to attend today, but we'll see from the other panelists that they partly can contribute also to projects he has been involved. Okay. So let's start the webinar. It will last about 1 hour, and we'll try to do a kind of panel discussion. What we would like to do live, but it's not able at the moment because also we are located in different countries. So let's do it live. And panel discussion means that we try to have a discussion between the panelists on different issues. And I'd like to start with the panelists giving the occasion for a short introduction, 5 minutes, each panelist to give us a more impression that we already had. What is your work that you had done already to this issue? What is your contribution to the solar thermal technology for industrial and residential use in Africa? And I'd like to start with Pauline Dusabe-Maria. So please give us a short introduction of your activities in this field.
Okay, thank you. Let us share with you my presentation. So if you can help me to share with my presentation, it will be okay. Okay.
So yes, Pauline, you're a co-host, so you can just click on the share screen button and select your presentation. There we go, it's coming up.
That's fine. Can you see my screen like now?
Perfect. We can see it. Yeah.
Okay.
And hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pauline Dusabe-Maria, electric engineer by profession, and currently I'm working for a private company called Munyax Eco as a coordinator of solar water heater department. So Munyax Eco is a private company specialized in solar energy, both thermal and photovoltaic system, and an energy efficient sector. It started operating since 2013, and the CEO and the founder of the company, it's a woman called Francine Munyaneza. The vision of our company is to become a key player in accelerating access and adaptation of clean energy solutions in Africa and fostering women leadership and participation. Here there are some activities of the company. We do both feasibility study, sizing, and implementation of photovoltaic system, thermal, as well as solar. We do also solar street light for individual and institution for the installation, solar cold chain and solar pumping solution. And also we do the installation for a solar home system for rural electrification. Here are the progress of solar water heater department since we started the business. Like now, we managed to install more than 1,700 units in different areas. And we have many categories of clients, where 80% of our clients are residential houses, 10% are hotel, 6% are the institution, 2% are health centers, and 1% are schools and factories. Since we start the installation of solar water heater here in Rwanda, we managed to produce 2,700 megawatt hour, which is equivalent to the 4,124 tons of COD avoided, which is, I can say that it's a huge contribution for the positive impact on the environmental. Here I can say some awards or recognize we have been received since we started the business. For example, in October 2020, Munyax Eco has been recognized as the best solar achievement of the year in Africa by Africa. And after 5 years of operating, Munyax Eco was recognized by the London Stock Exchange Group to be among Africa's fastest growing and the most dynamic business. In 2014, Munyax Eco was selected by LEC through a tender from the Solar Rwanda program to be a certified to supply and install of solar water heater in Rwanda. So in summary, I can show you some of our references on our activity of solar water heater installed. Here is an institution of lab where we managed to install 3,800 liters of solar water heater. Also, here is some few examples of the hotel we have installed here in Rwanda. And here also is a hotel where we installed solar water heater in Rwanda. And this is like an institution with meter training center. We have also made the installation of solar water heater. It's a few of our activities. Just I want to show you our installation, how it look like. Okay, I can say that thank you for your kind attention for my presentation.
Thank you, Pauline Maria, for this very compact, short presentation on the activities of Munyax in Africa some impressive references. And as we also could see, 80% use of solar thermal in residential and only 1% in factories. So there is a big open field for future activities. Thank you very much for this short introduction of your activities. I'd like to continue with Michelle Cross from Planet Soar. Please, the floor is yours for 5, 6, 7 minutes.
Thank you so much, Roger. Thank you. And it's such a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for the invitation, and really nice to meet everyone. So let me share now my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Just a very quick presentation. So Planet Soar, we are an accelerator of the energy transition. We have a department that is specialized in solar thermal, and we are a technology provider, developer as well. We are very active in Europe, and we are now deploying our solutions in Africa. So this is what I will just present a little bit today. What is the objective of the market? Our technology is very much located for the industrial sector. Because we produce heat between 60 degrees to 106 degrees percentage. And this is the demand that we meet for the industrial sector. And our technology, we can see that there's different ranges when we look into technologies today and the processes of heat. They can go ranging up above 400 degrees, and we are meeting all of those needs between 60 degrees and 160. We have a new technology as well that is coming up that will allow us to touch other higher percentages between 200, 250 degrees. So about our solar collector is a concentrated solar collector, very simple in terms of installation, very simple in terms of deployment. We are able to produce hot water, steam as well, and cooling system. So hot water until 160 degrees, steam to around 8 bars, depending on the process that we're dealing with. So this technology, we have also a tracking system that allows us to get a maximum efficiency from the sun. And today, compared to other technologies, we are one of the highest in terms of efficiency. And we have also received certification. And these certifications for us is quite important, because when you develop in large scales or receiving funding or collaborating as well in terms of heat purchase agreement, certifications are needed, and our technology has been certified from harsh weathers, especially in Africa in terms of dust. We have a glass that is cleaning itself to maximize the efficiency of the technology. So in terms of the technology, it's in terms of size and weight, can be installed in different locations. It can be on the ground floor. It can also be on the building, because this is the challenge that we have most of the time. This is space, especially with industries. And we do the maximum in terms of our technology is not so heavy. We can still put it on buildings, but of course the building we have to do a little bit of work on the building to be able to install it on the building. It's 25 years guarantee for the production that we do for this technology. And of course, this is important, but we have a whole recycling process after, which is really important, of course, in Europe and also in Africa. In terms of how this technology and where this technology can be integrated in different industrial markets. In Africa, we are working with a lot of industries, from beverage, a lot as well in food processing, that uses temperatures between 60 and 160 degrees. We see some minings as well coming up, especially in countries like Botswana, where there is some heat processes where this technology will also be used. But we can see that we are covering a wide range of industrial sectors. And this is why we want to accelerate in Africa to provide this technology to a maximum industries to accelerate the decarbonizations of their processes. How this technology can be integrated. Well, this is mainly based on a pre-feasibility study where we analyze the processes of the industry, and then we can, according to the most efficient way, we can integrate it. It can be straight to the boiler or into different processes according to the efficiency of the technology, and also according to the need. If they were dealing with strictly only steam or both processes, or even including cooling, because we produce cooling as well, cooling systems. And for that, we implement the Solar Central. Solar Central will be what determines the exchanges and what we are producing, and which implementation can we implement this technology. Our project today, what we are bringing into Africa is a production line of the solar thermal collectors. We have identified a very strong potential for solar thermal for Africa. We are implementing this production line in Botswana as a strategic entrance for us, which will be deployed in all of SADC for now, but of course it can also be extended to other African countries according to the need and the deployment of these solutions. We are able to produce one collector every 6 minutes, which assures us the ability to really scale out on a larger scale. We have a production capacity of 50 megawatt, and this can be doubled actually with only one production line. And the production line will be extended according to the need. We feel it very strong now, especially with the crisis that is happening, the increasing of prices with oil, and as well coal starting to not be as competitive as before. We start to really feel industries in Africa that are ready for a solution to stabilize these challenges that they're facing for now. And this is exactly that. What are the benefits for solar thermal, especially with our technology, is definitely to have a stable energy cost for a long run, stable and also constant. Is to protect against the rising of the cost that we have experienced for the few months now. Of course, our objective as a company is to do the maximum to decrease and reduce the CO2 emissions. And this is why we offer this technology. And of course, to build a brand, which is important, especially for multinational companies, but really is to give an efficient solution to maximize, accelerate, and support industries in the best way that we can with an efficient solution and different business models as well that we can offer. Thank you for that. Just very quickly, brief examples of how this technology can also be installed. We have a very good example in Kenya, actually. So we can imagine if there's a problem in terms of sizes, we can always find a solution. And we can also put the collectors on buildings and on the ground according to the needs. Thank you so much. I hope I was not too long.
Thank you, Michelle Cross, for this perfect presentation, also in time. And also giving us an insight on the potential potential market in Africa, and the industrial branches you mentioned, these applications, this is kind of similar in Africa and Europe with this food industry and chemical industry. And these are similar branches that are also targeted for solar process heat in Europe. So this is a really vast market worldwide, you can see. Thank you very much. We will come to more details later, and I'd like to add Troy Berry and his short presentation on his activities to this first round. Please, Troy.
Hi, everyone. Thanks. This is wonderful. A real pleasure to be joining. I think, did I press the right button and everyone can see this?
Yes, perfect. We see it perfect.
Okay. Great. Yeah, real pleasure to be joining the call and to be discussing about solar thermal. And this is our company, Ariya Finergy. My name is Troy Berry. I'm a Canadian engineer, but I've now been based in Kenya for 5 years, and it's the opportunities and the work and the life here has got me hooked. We are our core business. The one thing that we really wanted to do is understand our client's industry and then to integrate the green and clean technologies. And the reasons, the main reason for that is there's an environmental reason, but we also know that all of our projects have to make an economic sense to the end client. Our company is 23 people. We're all based in Kenya. Our CEO, Jenny Fletcher, she actually won the AFCIA Women in Solar of the Year last year, 2021. Extremely strong team. I actually wish some more of our team members could join the presentation, but they're all working so hard out in the field. Maintenance, design, construction, and of course our sales team is busy talking about these technologies to new clients. Here's one of our projects. It's actually in Kampala, if you recognize the building in the background. It's our biggest, it's a 2 megawatt. We do solar PV. Solar thermal fits really in because a lot of our clients, and they use more heat than they actually use electricity. Price of electricity is higher, so the amount of money they spend is about 50-50. But for a company like a tea factory, it's actually about, they use much more heat. I think Michelle's slide showed this earlier. A bit more about us as a company. We bring a little bit more than just an installation or an EPC, engineering, procurement, construction company. We're power stabilization and batteries, off-grid power. We think this is what is going to be needed next. Solar PV is really a start for our clients, and we've come across as being the power partner, which again, with our core business there of understanding the integration. We want to not only have one sale to a client where you install solar panels, but you talk to them about their needs, energy efficiency, heat, electricity, power stabilization. And then one thing to note is we have what we call vision controller. So to integrate the batteries and the power stabilization, we actually had to take our product one step further. We had to design our own controller around how to bring a battery in, to tell it to do what and to tell it to do when. So we have a team of 4 R&D. We are developing a controller ourselves. We're really proud of that being done here. It's not, we're just buying something from outside world and bringing it in, installing it. So we always like to highlight our vision controller. And then Ariya Finergy. Finergy is financing energy. We also do provide financing for our projects as well. And Michelle, thank you for going through all the details and technical specifications for the solar collector product here. Ariya Finergy works in East Africa. The supplier of this technology is a Swedish company called Epsolicon. They supply and they develop partnerships with people in regional groups across Africa. It's very interesting that we've settled on the same product. The reason we like it, and I mean, there's many companies that do concentrated solar thermal, and Pauline's presentation focused on residential, and I think residential solar heat is the absolute first thing that people should do. People talk about solar panels. You don't need electricity during the day because you're at work or you're out on your farm or you're outside of your house. But a solar water heater, the cheapest battery in the world is a tank of water on top of a tower, and maybe the second cheapest is a tank of water that has insulation around it and can keep hot water hot throughout the day. So solar water heat for your residential is perfect. For industry. Industry needs a certain level of heat and pressure, and it needs a simplistic integration. The hardest thing about a lot of new technologies, is how to integrate them. And there's some that offer heat and cooling, and there's just not a lot of clients that need heat and cooling at the same time. So for technologies that are simple, small, dense, and provide a high temperature, that's what's most useful. So we find that this Epsolicon technology is the best one to integrate into industry. Anyone who's burning HFO and diesel, these prices have just skyrocketed lately, so it's very advantageous to now. There's a lot more interest we're getting from clients that they finally see their energy prices rising through the roof. Firewood is still, at least in Kenya, it's extremely cheap, which is unfortunate because it puts a lot of land pressure on forests and other uses of land. Financing will help that implement it. So cheaper financing for industrial solar heat projects will really help. Just moving through our presentation. So this is the project that is up and running, and it's unfortunate that Jeff couldn't join us. Jeff Gimanti from Iber Africa. He's the technical manager. Would have been great to have him on the call because he's the guy that actually pushed for this project through their company. He took the heat, you could say, politically and technically, being the one inside the company. I think being an integrator and someone that supplies the technology is probably the more exciting role. And for our clients that do their homework, select us, select this technology, but actually push it through their companies, that's really what the world needs, because these technologies work. There's examples of them across the world. There's now an example in Kenya. This is 165 kilowatt. We've now generated 15 megawatt hours of heat. We just had it commissioned late in May. It works it's integrated into this power plant at Iber Africa. HFO, it has to be kept at 90 degrees. And Iber Africa power plant is a peaker power plant, which means it's called upon to supply electricity for 2 hours a day. And they were burning 13,000 liters of diesel a month just to keep the HFO warm enough so that they could burn it to make electricity. So now that diesel is brought down to zero, and they are heating the HFO with the solar thermal heat. Michelle again went through some of the options of how to take the solar water heat, which is pressurized hot water up to 160 degrees. Heat exchangers, you can make hot air, hot water. The main thing is to integrate it into your client's process in a very simple way so that they don't have to, we want them to focus on what they do for their work. We don't want them to focus on an energy project and maintaining temperatures and pipes going all the way over the place. So simple integration, and then of course in the turnkey product design by an integrator like us, the important thing is not to bring a headache to the client. So thank you for the time and look forward to the rest of the discussion.
Thank you, Troy, Barry, for this compact presentation. The integration of solar thermal in process heat is the crucial question during the last years, also in Europe. That's what the clients need. They not only need the technology, they need the integration, the whole package. That's true. So now we got an impression on different approaches of also what we have here today, to mainly the industrial use of solar thermal in Africa. So we could dig in on let's say, an issue or a question on technologies. It needs new technologies, it needs the best technologies. You already mentioned some of the innovations, so I'd like to make a short reflection with you on an update on new technologies. So what are the new technologies that might help us in the next 5 years to implement more of these examples you showed in Africa? Let's start, let's say, with Michelle.
Thank you. And on that, I want to say, Troy, fantastic that we have we're working on the same technology, and this even why we need a production line for Africa, and it's fantastic. In terms of new technologies, especially at this moment, even in Europe, we have the same problem. There's not a lot of technology when it comes to solar thermal. And we need more, of course, development in this. I think storage is going to be key as well. We are working with different companies in terms of storage, but we still haven't arrived there in terms of, the most efficient storage system for the solar thermal. If we compare as well with what are the technologies in the market, I mean, we see them, we're working with actually an industry that is working with solar thermal collectors. No, solar thermal actually is like panels in France. And in Africa, we are developing another project with them, but with a different system. Why is because, for example, if we compare with the panels, when temperatures go high, the panels tend to maybe lose a little bit in terms of efficiency. So in terms of, using panel solutions for industry, sometimes it's maybe better to concentrate on district heating than higher temperatures and where collectors maybe are more suitable. But I think we need as much technologies as we can in the market to accelerate the big demand that we have in front of us. And it's not one technology which is better than the other. It always depends on what is the process of integration, what is the heat that is needed. There's some technologies which are better for lower heats, and some technologies which are better for higher heats. And I think we definitely have to explore more technologies and bring these to the market.
Okay, yeah, it's that we need the proper and appropriate application for each technology. Might it be a concentrated collector or a flat plate collector? Troy, you're working with basically the same technology as Michelle. As I saw, it's also, by the way, Absolicon. It's a member of Austria Solar. So it's a member of our association since 1 year. So we are very in close contact with them, and that's a bit funny. So what would you say, Troy, that the new technology issue is from your side the crucial point, or the innovation?
Yeah, great. I mean, one thing Absolicon does is they have a real global view. So I think what's quite good of them is that they're looking at the whole world approach. And I mean, for Michelle's the assembly line, that'd be amazing, because reducing transportation costs and also having more manufacturing on the continent is absolutely required. Another technology that we're looking at, it's not new, but it's new to here, and it's a pre-insulated piping solution. So efficiency, saving your heat and saving your energy is just as important as creating it, and sometimes it's a whole lot easier to save what you already have. And then one thing that, I mean, and this goes to my question earlier about ease of integration, is I also see a lot of waste heat. And for instance, there's chimney stacks, boiler stacks. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but for people that are looking at capturing heat and heat recovery, or the organic Rankine cycle types of heat, electricity or energy production, where you can take from a waste heat source that's leaving, because that's there. We see it. If I put my thermal camera on a chimney, it's 140-degree air going into the atmosphere, and you always take a look at it and saying, couldn't that be used? We've focused on this delivery of the 160-degree. Michelle's right. If you can supply hot water at 95, the efficiency goes up. So anyone who has a food processing, dairy, beverage, cleaning, using a lot of hot water for cleaning, you absolutely must consider this technology, because the efficiencies there it's low-hanging fruit as far as availability.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And as we learned before, Pauline Dusa-Bermalia with Munyax Eco is working in the residential area also, and there might be different technological problems to solve. What would be the innovations in this field, or the challenges for the technology? Pauline, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I can say that for residential house, we have some challenges, because you have one type of solar water heater. So we have some clients just wish to use solar water heater, but they have a limitation on the aesthetic of the house. So now we are looking for new technology where the tank and the collector are integrated together, so that we can install in the house to overcome the barrier of the aesthetic. So it's in the residential house. For industry, when you look at the percentage, we have 2% of the installation. We don't have a new technology adapted for the industry when they need hot water on highest degrees. So we are looking also for that new technology to adopt in Rwanda, because the percentage of the industry have this solar voltaic is low. So we want to push in that area also to use the solar thermal.
Yeah.
Thank
So as you presented, factory, the share of factory appliances is only 1% in recently, and 80% is residential. But yeah, it's interesting that at residential there are compact systems part of the future, as I understand, with collector and storages in compact systems. That's also what I realized in other countries, or even in other continents, not only Europe, being a crucial issue. And if we have the technology, then one important question is how to finance the solutions, the technologies. And Troy told us in the beginning that Ariya Finergy is called Finergy because finance is in the name of the company. So financing of large-scale solar installations, also for industry, is an issue. Where are the solutions for that? Troy?
Hi. Yeah, so we do power purchase agreements on electricity. I think this is a very well understood and easily calculated type of financing. And then also for our solar PV power stabilization, we do lease payments across a year where you can, if the payback period for solar in Kenya is 3 years, it's much easier to do a small financing package where you're spreading out payments. Even in the places in Kenya where it's a little bit more cloudier, you still have 4-year payback. So these are very simple concepts, and some clients need them, some clients don't, and we push that. For heat, you have to look at a heat purchase agreement, and you have to be very clear about where you're measuring, what you're measuring, steam flow rates, temperatures, input temperatures. It's a little bit more complicated. And I think even similarly for clients, they have to get their heads wrapped around that. But you could even just take a simple case and say, let's spread it out over, installment payments over time. I mentioned the solar thermal does well against HFO and diesel, heavy fuel oil, HFO and diesel, because those fuels are expensive. If you take firewood and biomass, and unfortunately they're very inexpensive in Kenya, and the solar thermal spreads out and payback gets up to 10, 12 years. And for us, again, it's a problem with the financing in Africa. We work with very strong companies, multinationals, Kenyan companies that have been around for 40 years, people that have paid us back 100% every month over the last 5 years for their solar systems. These things have paid off. There's extremely stable companies in Kenya, yet still we don't get anything lower than 10%. And that's just a fact of the continent. And I'm not an economist. Every time I bring it up, there's always reasons why. Risk on the continent. But again, I think we need to keep pushing this fact that businesses in Europe get 1-2%, and it's much easier to finance capex into those, and that just encourages the economy. And I'm not talking about Kenya shilling, I'm even talking about dollar-euro rates. We can't get lower than 10%, and we're becoming a medium company. So that's something that everyone has to focus upon. And if you really want to push these technologies in to displace firewood and biomass burning at the scale that they burn in this country, you take a tea factory, they burn 40 cubic meters of firewood a day. And don't tell me that they may be taking from plantations. Obviously, these are inspected, but that amount of wood going from plantations puts pressure onto villages to burn straight from forests. So these are absolutely things that the world needs to solve, and finding ways to get lower interest rates into these projects is one way to do it. Absolutely, because I think that 12-year project, you can reduce it down to 8 just based on financing and lower financing rates. It makes it a lot more attractive. Thank you.
So the cheap firewood and the high interest rates are obstacles, clearly obstacles for the diffusion of these technologies. This might also be similar obstacles for Planet Soar, I think, because also Michelle nodded through your statement several times. But has this changed during the last weeks, months by soaring energy prices that we are experiencing?
Of course, I mean, it's much better. Definitely, it's much better compared to 3 years ago when prices of coal were so low that we couldn't compare with it. We couldn't compete with it. In Europe, the same with the gas. It was very difficult to talk to industries. To say let's decarbonize and offering a solution that is a little bit maybe more expensive, but more environmentally friendly. But we see this completely changing for sure. Especially we feel it very strong in Europe, and it's pushing the same in Africa. When it comes to today, we can see that the gas prices have shot up. We are now competitive in terms of gas prices. And biomass, it's the same thing. We have the same challenge as well here. We never know what is being put inside. Of course, there's regulation and things like that, but there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of stories about biomass, and we feel it that there's going to be more pressure put in on biomass as well to control this, because where we are going today, where the world is going, and where each government is going is really to decarbonize the industry, sustainability, not in all cost. So we can see that there's a change, and that does affect the business models as well. It gives us a good advantage where we can offer. We have some projects in South Africa today where we can be aligned with the coal prices, sometimes even competitive, and this gives us an advantage, and we accelerate much better. And in terms of business models as well, what is great with this solution today is that, as Troy was mentioning, we offer this heat purchase agreement, whereby a customer just buys the heat from us, and we take care of everything from the installation, the infrastructure, and for that, obviously, we have to make sure that the company as well is financially stable to be able to buy constantly this heat, per month, per year, as is being produced. But we see these business models coming. We have now a leasing process. We see a lot of international companies as well coming to Africa, offering leasing solutions, offering this heat as a purchase solutions. So and avoiding to put so much pressure, financial pressure on industries to decarbonize. And this is what we're trying to bring as well. And the fact that we will have a local production, meaning that the raw material will be outsourced locally, employment is also going to be locally, meaning it's going to be definitely much cheaper than a technology that is being sent from out of Africa, being developed in Africa. And this is what we are trying to push for competitive prices with a very efficient technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so importing not technologies, but business models or know-how. I think that's a very wise way for the African development, solar thermal development. And as you mentioned, the heat purchase agreements we experience also in Europe is demanded by large heat customers, that they only want to pay and don't want to have any effort on the stuff, and they want to have the solutions ready for them to go. Pauline told in our previous discussions that also electrical water heaters have, or electricity has a high, in some countries has a high share of or a high part in covering the demand of hot water for households or also for industry. And this might also be affected by the soaring prices in fossil fuel energies, isn't it, Pauline?
Yeah, it's true, because when you compare for electrical heater, it can take 7% of the electricity bill. So if we use the solar water heater, we save that amount around the 7%. And also when you look at the payback period here in Rwanda for solar water heater, it's 2 years. While the lifetime of the solar water heater is between 20 to 25. So there is the advantages of using solar water. You save money, you save energy, and also you save the planet. Another part, maybe for the maintenance, it's low for the solar water heater. So there is a huge benefits for using solar water heater in residential house. Thank you.
And I'd like to add a question, because if the technology is there and the business model is there, then we need also a regulatory framework. We need standard certifications. Could you tell us something on the standard certification issue that is already there for solar thermal, and the relevance of it?
Normally there is a ministerial guideline. You have to make an international certification for the product you import. Because here in Rwanda, we don't have local manufacturer of the solar water heater or the accessories. So we have to import outside. It's the challenge we have here. So maybe because there is a lot of companies selling the solar water heater, so maybe there is a guideline for the standard technical specification of solar water heater we have to bring here in Rwanda.
Okay. We got the message in the chat that we know that the audible is a bit distorted of you. We're very sorry about that. But I hope that you got the message of Pauline. We also received some questions we will ask afterwards. We don't forget it, but I'd like to pass this question on the legal framework conditions to Michelle. If we talk about solar thermal for industry use in Africa, are there policies in place to promote the diffusion of this technology, of this part of this market segment?
Definitely, for now it's much more on government level. There's also some international organizations that promote the installation of solar thermal. Especially we're looking into South Africa and Botswana a bit as well. So definitely we see some initiatives. I think not enough. I think we need to see much more support there. We need to see much more incentives, like we are seeing here in Europe, to accelerate this decarbonization. But I think we are starting somewhere, but there's a lot of incentives as well coming in from large financial organizations to support this deployment for decarbonizing the industries.
Is this also, if I may ask Troy, is this also your perception that there are policy initiatives on the way for industrial, for solar process heat in Africa?
Yeah, I mean, I think about policies that are on the way. I think Michelle might know a bit better than me, focusing on that. What's in place is, at least in COMESA, East Africa, we have 0% duties. So it's a help in that it's not another cost to overcome, and so that really makes. I mean, that would just kill products if you had to pay the duties that you normally have to pay on imports. So very good incentive from the governments here for the duty-free. And then, I was a little bit critical about biomass earlier, and its effect on land use. I should really clarify that firewood is what I was talking about, and firewood specifically from trees. Biomass from bagasse, from pineapple husks, from macadamia shells, these are things where I think fully qualify as far as there's a question Gabriel asked about carbon credits. So replacing, for me, a policy Firewood is not a renewable energy in Africa because I believe that it doesn't have renewable land practices, but biomass as form as briquettes or waste products absolutely is. So can we get carbon credits for these things? I think that's actually pretty tough, because if I'm displacing firewood, in a lot of places they call firewood a renewable energy, so I'm actually not replacing anything. Although I know that my impact on the forests, natural forest preservation, is actually helpful. Bringing these technologies in, why aren't these technologies coming in? I think really you need pilot projects. That's why we're really happy to get the one at Iber Africa off the ground. You need examples in this market of the technology working in Africa. In Kenya, you might, a Kenya milk company wants to see it happening at a Kenya milk company. If it's happening in a Ugandan milk company, they don't count that. They want to see it in Kenya. So we need examples of these pilot projects. Grants are really good for this. Grants is like risk capital. They're the ones that should be taking risks. So getting these projects off the ground, that's a good way to start it. Although sometimes when we look at grants, they want us to quantify our impact on forest preservation. And it's a little bit hard, because everywhere I look in reports from NGOs, UN, I don't see that, I don't find any reports, and someone can please send me that, where forests are being cut down to go into industrial processes. That's not in the reports. But when I go out there and I talk to people in the tea world, the guys that are going out collecting the tea from the farmers, they all have stories about people coming out of those forests with wood. So there needs to be some, more on the ground look at that. And my stories about this, I can't put that into a grant and have someone reading a grant and be like, well, we need to put more money into industrial wood practices. So let's up the attention on industrial use of heat, because there's a lot of focus on cook stoves, which is great. I just want to match that on the industrial side, because again, 40 cubic meters of firewood per day at 160 tea factories in Kenya, that adds up, and there's a lot of pressure there. So policies are good. One such example, like a holy grail for us, could be a policy around, if you use firewood, you need to have at least 10% come from renewable sources, renewables being briquettes or solar or other means of that. We do find some companies that are solar PV. We work with two companies, Spinnet and Thika Cloth Mills. These are textile companies that are volunteering to buy briquettes. Very great CSR practices. I wanted to give a shout out. It is happening. There is a lot of good. These owners have decided to buy briquettes at a higher cost than firewood because they want to have a positive impact on the environment. So good for those companies. I'm sure there's more. Kenya Nut Company also harvests a lot of their shells and reuses it for heat. So it is out there. Companies are moving, but policy would be great. I mean, why would these few companies spend extra money to be good when other ones don't? So again, policy should lead, and we support a policy like 10% renewable heat.
Okay, very interesting. I see that that's a really specific issue in African countries, as I see that policies for a larger deployment of solar thermal also should include the issue of wood resources, of firewood resources, especially that there is no backlash for climate protection and on a biomass source. So that's really an unusual issue for European ears. Honestly, very interesting. That's an African issue the policies have to cope with. Before we come, because we already have 1 hour gone, before we come to a final round, I'd like to raise or bring in some questions that we have received in the question and answer section. There was one question especially pointed to Michelle, because a key question of most clients always has to be the cost, or always is the cost of technology, and they are always keen to deploy sustainable solutions, such as these, provided this also offers a commercial upside, or at least a match that it matches their existing costs of heat generation. And the question is, what is the all-in cost the all-in cost of generating a kilowatt hour of heat using your technology, assuming a location within the equatorial band in Africa? So what are the generating costs?
I mean, we wouldn't have, it's always a ranking. It depends on the project. This is why when we work with an industry, the first thing that we do is offer a pre-feasibility study to understand already what are the processes that they're using, what is the cost as well that they're paying, and to be able to understand, you know, in terms of cost, what per watt can we offer? If we look, for example, today, we can definitely give a range between, as I said, it depends. A range between 30 euros to 40 euro per watt, but it definitely depends. And this is where we also enter as a solution provider. We also provide business models for each client, tailored to each client. There are some customers who are okay with buying the capex, you know, and waiting for the return on investment. But we find that very difficult to deploy in Africa, and this is why we offer this heat as a service. Whereby we invest in the technology, we come to install and invest in this technology, and industries buy, and it's a contract, it's a negotiation contract based on the heat that they currently use and how much they're paying, and also in terms of how large the project is. So it's not a number that I can give specifically because I don't really know the type of project. It has to go in much analysis. But what I can say is that a cost today should not be a stumbling block for an industry to decarbonize their processes. There's many solutions today, and this is what we are also bringing in Africa, is business models from leasing, from heat purchase agreements. And if capex is what they want to invest in and they want to have a return on investment, this can easily be provided for.
Okay. Thank you. I have an additional question from the audience related to the technology you use at Ariya Finergy and Planet Soar. What are the storage technology that is currently used most in combination with these collectors? I don't know who wants to ask, Troy or Michelle. Who wants to answer?
I mean, in terms of storage, again, for now, most of the process that we're working on, the production is most of the time during the day. There are some storage solutions. We don't do it ourselves. We have some partners who are specialized in these storage solutions that come and assist and, you know, and offer this to our partners. And it also depends on what is the need and what are the temperatures. That is what is key. There's different solutions in terms of storage that are available today. And I don't know if Troy wants to elaborate more on some of the storage systems that you are working on.
I would like to add to the question. If you say you produce up to 160 degrees Celsius with these collectors, is this heat stored or is this directly fed into the industrial process?
It is fed directly into the industrial processes. It's what we have as well. What is really great with this technology is that we have a dashboard that was actually produced by Siemens, where you can easily follow the production of the collectors through the day according to the peak of the radiation in the sun. So it is hot water or steam that is produced directly from the collector, of course, through the solar central, that is produced directly into the process that is needed. Okay,
does Troy like to add something?
Yeah, no, Michelle's been very eloquent, and no, Michelle, so great work. I mean, for Epsilicon, there are for the solar hot water specifically, you can have a solar thermal tank. So either pressurized hot water or steam. It actually does help quite a bit when the modeling comes through to extend into the evening a little bit. I take tea as another example. They pick the tea in the day, they start withering late afternoon, and the cutting process and drying is into the evening. So they need the storage. It does extend the solar fraction. I know there's a lot of other solar thermal heat storage, which is around molten salt, things that are at higher temperatures. with our highest range around 160, 200, and 200 with a new product coming in, that's a little bit below the range of the molten salt. But a simple, again, I return to simple integration. A tank, insulated tank, pressurized, is a really simple way to integrate, and it doesn't take up too much space, and it fits along with the natural line of the piping. So that's what we use, and that's what goes into a lot of our, we do a 10, 20, 30 model sometimes for solar fraction. And if you wanted to get into 30, 40, 50%, you need storage. And that's simply just a tank of hot water.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting. We see where technology will head on during the next years. Before we come to a closing round with asking about the challenges and opportunities, I'll pick up a last question from the Q&A part, where I think it's a question to Pauline, who mentioned standards and regulatory problems. And the question is, are there issues of standard and regulatory problems between different African countries? Are there common regulatory and standards issues in many African countries, or is it divided country by country? Are there problems between that? Is this a necessity to unify, or is it already there, Pauline?
I think it depends on the country. Like here in Rwanda, there's some policies that facilitate the use of solar. I can say that an example, the solar equipment, even solar water or PV, we don't pay tax. So it's a policy that facilitate the use of solar equipment. So it depends on the country.
Okay, it depends on the country. Okay, so this is different from country to country. Might be a bit tricky for companies selling in different countries throughout Africa, that they have to fit all the regulatories and tax incentives or tax regulatories in different countries. But in the end, we are looking for the challenges and the opportunities, because we'd like to have more solar thermal technology in industrial and residential use in Africa. So what would be your outlook on the next years? What do you think, what could we reach in the next 5 years? Let's start with Troy.
So, I mean, good questions. And I mean, just for the trade zones, I think the trade zones work fairly well in that from Kenya, within East Africa, we can sell from Kenya to other countries, and Southern Africa has their own trade zone. We don't really sell between too much, but there are trade zones as far as corners of Africa. And so if a collector line gets built in Botswana and South Africa, we would be able to fill all of those countries in that area. I think one thing, and Gabriel asked the question again about carbon credits. We've produced, I think it's 10 gigawatt hours of electricity as Ariya Finergy, and we have not received one carbon credit. I mean, we don't really know how to apply or to get into the world. I put my email in the chat. I know we're not selling to anyone, but the way that there's like greenwashing going on, and all these companies are claiming carbon neutral and off of fishy schemes, and we're sitting here with 10 gigawatt hours produced and haven't received anything for that and don't even know how to access it. We have looked. We know you have to be, there's some UN ones that you have to be big for. We don't qualify for those size. If anyone has any ideas, reach out to me, email me on the chat. But being able to sell this and getting energy is such a small margin gain. Getting a little bit extra really helps. So appreciate everyone's feedback and helping us connect into the carbon credit world.
Yeah, thank you. So if anyone has an idea, please get in contact with Troy directly. Probably you could tap the European emission trading system. with this, because they have the need to get certifications either by their own activities or by third parties also in other continents. So this might be one way to tap a system that will give you an extra gain for an extra income for your kilowatt hours produced by solar energy. Yeah. So what, Michelle, would you say are the challenges, opportunities that you see in the next 5 years, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about challenges, I think there's, because there's, you know, not everybody knows about solar thermal. There's a lot of communication and a lot of market when it comes to solar and when it comes to electricity, but electricity is only 20% of the power that we need, and heat is much more than 50%. And I think there's not a lot of communication or advertising enough in Africa, and I should also say in Europe, about solar thermal. So this is the challenge that we see today. I remember when we started in South Africa, talking to some of the industries, they were very interested about our technology. They were always thinking it was electricity, and we had to repeat so many times, no, it's not electricity, it's heat, it's heat, it's heat. So they didn't understand how we can produce heat with the sun. They never heard about that before, but they knew that this is the solution that they need, because 80% of that bill was heat. So we had a solution to produce heat directly for them. So this for us, it's happening all the time. We are in an education process, I believe, that we will see accelerating in a few years, as well as new technologies come, as new projects start to arise, and people start to understand that solar thermal is a big, important part of the decarbonization. And also, I think experts as well. We are working now with the University of Botswana to start to offer maybe some courses in terms of solar thermal. I think this has to start to be, we need to build new skills for the solar thermal, and it can be a challenging, especially for large deployments, to find the right skills which are technically proper and certified for these type of deployments. That could be a challenge. But in terms of opportunities, there are great opportunities. And this is why I repeat it again, financing should not be a stumbling block for an industry that wants to decarbonize. There are solutions, reach out. For now, investors are opening up more and more for solar thermal. They're seeing the emergency, they're seeing the potential, and they are really supporting industries, they're supporting projects and associations, and this is the positive part. And we could say, COVID and the war in Ukraine somehow is, pushing the acceleration as well for industries to be independent for their own proper heat solutions. So we can see that. But I believe there's a bright future for Africa. There's huge potential. I don't have to discuss radiation when I come to Africa. I talk about that always in Europe and calculate the radiation to see if it is, if it is going to be efficient or not. And this is perfect. I think we have a great potential. We have the space, we have the ability, and Africa should be somehow leading when it comes to solar and solar thermal, because we have the capacity.
Yeah, thank you. That's also our experience from a European view. When we get information on, when we get fact sheets on plants in Africa, then we're always amazed on this kilowatt hour per square meter yield. Yeah, they can reach in the plants, in the installations. We are like, wow, there is more yield in the plant than we have overall on sun in Europe. Yeah, so it's if we had 120% usage of the sun, which is reaching Europe, then it's the yield what you have all day in Africa. So it's perfect. Yeah, this is really, we are always amazed by these numbers. Yeah,
it is. No, we are looking forward to see this happen.
Yeah. And in the chat, Troy might have seen it. There one participant told that she's able to give advice on renewable energy certificates. So get in contact directly. You can see the chat, I think. Yeah. So there is could one who offers offers advice on that. So Pauline, could you give us a last impression on what could be the challenges, opportunities, probably in the field of residential use of solar thermal in Africa in the next years?
I can say that the challenge is that, like here in Rwanda, we don't have industry for solar water production or production line. So we import everything outside. So it's cost us a lot of money and also time for waiting. So that is the challenges when we look at in Africa. So maybe even in 5 years, if there is some partners or some other specialists can help us to resolve this issue, I think the number of installation will increase because there is a potential market, there is a need in Africa, but maybe that's the most challenges. If we have like production, local production, it decreases the price and increases availability of the product. So it's that I can say in summary. Thank you.
Okay, that's a very interesting point, very important point, I think, this local production, because of the reasons you mentioned. So I think we had very interesting, inspiring exchange on solar thermal technology for the use in industry and in residential areas from different perspectives, from the technology, from the financial perspectives, from the standard and certification perspective, and even from the regulatory framework. I thank you for participating here. Also interesting questions. This webinar has been recorded and can be seen afterwards, and I'll hand over to the host, John van Zuylen, to formally close the webinar. John, please.
Thank you so much, Roger, and thank you to your panelists for some very interesting inputs on this topic. And we can, I'm sorry about my voice, I'm a bit sick. At AVSIA, we can only agree with what has been told. And this is also the reason why we wanted to organize this webinar. Solar thermal needs a lot more attention, not just because of giving it attention, but because it's good for businesses and it's good for households. A lot of attention is always put on solar photovoltaics, and we're very happy about this. But people who are listening, and thank you for all the ones who are still with us right now, take a serious consideration about solar thermal for your business, for your house, because there's great benefits in doing this. It's a bit unknown, but you have a wonderful lineup of experts who have joined us today. You have their contact details. Don't be afraid to get in touch with them. They'll be guiding you through the process, and you will see that you can benefit greatly from this technology. So that is the core message I wanted to give to you today. And before I let everybody go, I would like to thank you all once again for joining us today as listener and for submitting your question, for participating as a panelist and sharing your insights. And last but not least, for gently accepting to moderate this session, Roger. It was a pleasure to welcome you today. And I hope we'll have the pleasure of organizing events together again in the near future. Thank you to everybody. I will leave the session open for 1 more minute in case you have some final question that you would like to submit to our panelists today. We will share these questions with them later on. And after 1 minute, then it will be the real end. I wish you a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you again in one of our next events.